Vegas Video Network Studios, just steps from the Las Vegas Strip. It's Top of the Food Chain. And now your host, he's 1 part Mohawk, 2 parts attitude, and a touch of what the It's Al Mancini.
Yeah, come on. You really need Scott to tell you to do that. Hello, Las Vegas. Hello, studio audience. Welcome to Top of the Food Chain. I'm your host, Al Mancini, a guy who is not only higher up the food chain than those zebras, but I've got way cooler hair than them. Hell, I've got way cooler hair than that cheetah that was chasing him, but I wouldn't tell him that to his face. Anyway, we are at Top of the Food Chain on Vegas Video Network. VegasVideoNetwork.com. If you're listening on the radio and you want to find us when you get home, that's where you'll find us. All the cool shows. We got about 7 of them running right now, and great shows here at Vegas Video Network. You can chat with us live. I want to start with that because we've got a live chat going on. We're going to be talking about a couple interesting topics today, so get into the chat room right now. First of all, brand new Food Network show just started last week. It's called Extreme Chef. We've got one of the contestants, so he's going to give us some behind-the-scenes dirt. So if you've got questions about that, get in the chat room right now. Also, I know a lot of you guys are afraid of fine French dining, and we have an expert on that is going to make it so that you are not afraid, and you will be willing to check out fine French dining the next time you're able to mortgage your house and afford it. Anyway, so get in the chat room. If you have questions for future episodes, we have Vic Vegas coming back in another week or two, so get with us on that one, or any other question you have. That's food@VegasVideoNetwork.com is where you email those to. You can get all of our episodes at iTunes, our past episodes, either audio or video, or both if you want to compare them and see what the difference is. One has video. And you can get us at YouTube. They're one of our partners. So check all of those things out. You can listen to all of the Vegas Video Network shows. Scott, this gets longer every week that I have to tell people at the top of this show.
Empire, baby.
You are building an empire.
It's an empire.
You can listen to all of these shows at 1400 AM KSHP every Friday night. So tune in there, and we've got a listener line for you people that are listening now. You can dial in with any questions for any of the hosts at 866-966-4599. That's 866-966-4599. Anyway, we got a lot to do today. Let's get on with the show. Scott, how are you?
I am excellent. By the way, that was so well done.
Was it?
It's really good.
Kind of like autopilot?
I want to watch this show. It's so good.
You should use a tutorial. Give that as a tutorial to your other
All right, all the hosts, come on, let's look at Al.
See how Al did it.
Al did it well.
How was your 4th? I missed your barbecue, my friend.
Oh, it was really fun. You know what? Having a barbecue, a pool party, and a monsoon at the same time, that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, it's just one big kind of tropical Gilligan's Island theme, I guess.
It was, and you know, a little rain, little lightning, little thunder, swimming, diving. It felt safe at the time, but we had been drinking a lot of Devil's Margaritas at the time.
Yes, and you were talking about those Devil's Margaritas. Those are the Sprite, the beer, and the tequila. Is that what they are?
It's 6 parts beer, 6 parts tequila, 6 parts limeade.
Limeade,
blended.
Okay. And that just makes it delicious. Goes down so smooth that you're willing to swim in a thunderstorm.
That's right.
Well, I had an interesting week. A lot of writing going on this week, so too much work, not enough play. But did get to hang out with Chef Carla Pellegrino, and that is a blast. I want to tell people out there, she has just started a Saturday brunch of Brazilian food at a restaurant, Britalian, which is out near Anthem. So she's got a great place in the Tropicana, but if you want Brazilian food, most of what she does is Italian. Check out her place, Britalian. And that's a lot of fun every Saturday afternoon. And Carla is a scene. We got my guest today. We'll be able to talk more about that topic, but she's one of the most fun hosts here in Las Vegas, so you have a good time with that. And what else? I dined at Le Cirque last night. It was great. I highly recommend their new chef. But do we have anything else to talk about, Scott, or we just get into the guests? Because we got 2 good ones.
Let's go.
Okay, cool. As people have noticed, we've had Vic Vegas speaking behind the scenes on Food Network Star for the past 2 weeks. Vic is out of town this week, but that's cool because I had been looking for a reason to get my buddy Jean Paul Labadie in. Have you guys seen this new show? Scott, can you pull this up? Yeah, this is basically Extreme Chef. I don't know if anybody has seen the videos or has seen the ads for this, but Extreme Chef, new on Food Network, started last week, and it is a, I guess it's like Survivor meets meets Top Chef or something like that. It's crazy. They're cooking on cars. My friend Jean Paul Labadie, who we all know here in Las Vegas from some memorable Legacy restaurants. We know him from Marché Bacchus, one of my favorite restaurants. He is here today. He will be on tonight on Extreme Chef doing extreme stuff like what we see here, I suppose. Anyway, here he is, Jean Paul Labadie.
What's going on, Al? Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate that very much.
How are you, man?
I'm doing great, thank you.
You haven't been cooking in a while. I haven't seen you.
No, I've been taking some time off. I enjoy my two boys, doing a little basketball, little boy stuff kind of thing. So I have a chance to go tape the show. And I can't wait to see it tonight. I mean, I'm dying, people asking me, how I did, of course. I tell them, hey, I don't even know who won. You got to wait till tonight. And some people ask me, really? You don't know yet? I kind of know. But I
don't want to pay $1 million fine or whatever it is, right?
You got to sign your life away when you do these things.
Yeah.
But it was a blast. I enjoyed it tremendously.
I want to talk about what this show is like because, like I said, it kind of looks like it's a cross between maybe between Survivor and a cooking show. Is that the deal?
It is 100% the deal. Once they prep you for the show, they ask you, hey, can you do this? Can you ride horses? Can you swim? Can you skydive? Can you jump off a cliff? They scare you. Like,
all the very important cooking techniques that you learned in chef school, right?
When do you get a chance to cook? But that's the thing. They put you out of the elements through all these things. They tire you. You're soaking wet. You're cold. Of course, depending on the setting, and then you get whatever less of that in 30 minutes to do one dish, and that's a challenge. And then, of course, you either win or lose, and then you move to the next challenge. And then again, at that time, one person gets eliminated, and then the next two folks go into the final challenge.
Okay, I got to ask you, why the hell? There are, what are there, guys? People, there are like maybe 800 cooking shows that have chefs on as contestants, and the hardest thing they have to do is live in a mansion together and get drunk and not kill each other.
I wish I would have done with that one.
Yeah, and you decided to go on the one where you got to skydive on a horse or something.
Exactly, and then cook while you're doing that.
But and then cook the horse while you're skydiving.
But you cook for a living and you manage folks, and you think you have a hard life. So that we try to stay in shape a little bit. So that kind of caught my attention. Let's test how much I can do outside of the kitchen. I go camping often, and I can light a fire, and cook some smoking s'mores. But what can you do besides that? I wanted to find out.
You're just trying to prove you're a tough guy, really.
Well, pretty much,
trying 100%. To prove how tough
so
you
I can tell my kids,
right.
If I can do this, you can do well in school.
Yeah, there's no complaining about having to rake the lawn or something or whatever.
Exactly, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, okay. I know you're limited in what you can talk about, but your show airs in just a couple hours. It actually may be airing on the East Coast as we speak.
I think so. Pretty soon.
Yeah, very soon. It's tonight on Food Network. And what time does it air? It's 8 o'clock?
I think it's 10 o'clock
10
here.
o'clock,
if you have cable, Cox, and I think if you have Dish, it might be a little earlier.
I think it would be 7 because you're getting the East Coast feed.
But,
right?
but I'm psyched. I've been waiting for a long time to see it. And, when you do this, you sign, again, everything, and they can make you look good, and they make you look like a knucklehead.
Right.
Hopefully they chose the good one.
Cool. So we've got somebody in the chat room. Scott, what's going on over there?
Yeah, Nate wants to know, does the show allow you to really feature your cooking skills?
That's the hard part. How much can you time manage? Which you're going to see how well or not I did on one of the challenges on that. But how can you put your tire or whatever and do what you can do with the tools and the setting that they give you. So that, again, that is a challenge. How can you put everything behind and focus on what you can do?
And can you tell us anything about what challenges you had?
Yeah, the first one was swimming to a canoe. Somebody had to get rescued. I grew up on an island, so I give you that little hint in there. But you have to swim to a canoe, get your fish, get on the canoe, and then row back to shore, and that's all being timed. You get 30 minutes all day to swim, get your stuff, go to your station, go to the pantry they have out there, and make a dish. Hopefully restaurant quality.
Because you're often eating at Michelin restaurants
exactly,
on a canoe,
in the middle
right?
of Malibu Mountains.
Yeah,
and again, you're soaking wet. The water was ice cold. So it's not really what you show up for work every day. The second challenge, and it's all super quick. The second challenge, it was, and I think you see in the promo, you pack everything you need: pots, pans, liquids, and fats, anything you need to make a dish that you still don't know what it is. What you're gonna make, and then you hike up, you hike down, of course. Stuff happens in the middle. And then again, your time to, once you get there, you don't know what tools you're going to have, what heating equipment you're going to have. So you're thinking about all this stuff as you're doing your hike, you know. And then you try to make a restaurant quality dish.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You know, this is a Food Network show. And, you know, my friend Vic is also on a Food Network show. So I got two buddies on Food Network shows. And Vic is a pretty tough guy, too.
Yeah.
But I just got to think, when you guys from Extreme Chef meet up with the guys out there from Food Network Star, you must just be like, wusses, man. You have, Scott, can I say the word I was going to call
Oh,
him?
100%. So you guys come here and hang out with me for a couple of days. But you know what?
You just smack them with a frying pan or something.
As you're doing that, they throw curveballs at you, and you're going like, you just got to be kidding me, man. You know, when you think you're already pressed for time and you're challenged on everything, they throw what they call the X Factor. So you get a couple of those through the cooking competition, and you go like, I mean, you've seen some of them. You know, somebody gets downpour in one of the shows, so they're similar to that. But it's all about, you know, time management and you know, keeping focus, you know, which is really hard.
So the deal is, you just get on for one episode. You're on tonight. Now,
Correct.
if you win, do you come back or anything? Or is it just-
There's nothing that's been said, you know, about that. So we'll see. You know, again, it's 8 episodes, so I'm obviously one of them, and we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens.
And as far as where you're going to be cooking next, because I loved your food at Emerald's. You know, you were, I think, the first guy to ever give me a really good bronzino, to really turn me on to bronzino at table 10.
You know,
and
when
I
we
loved
opened table 10, we came up with a smoky menu. You know, and you know, it was a good time. You know, Emerald built a phenomenal kitchen for us. And you know, I think, you know, I came from the fish house, so and then again, I was born and raised in an island, so I know seafood really well. So you know, that's where my heart and soul goes to when I do that. You know, later you learn to do like duck and steaks, but you know, I'm doing a couple things here in town. Some folks flew me last week outside of Las Vegas, so that's still a possibility. You know, Vegas has been my home for 15 years. But you know, you got to see what's best out there for you. And again, I got about 3 things on the burner going on right now. I should find out by next week, so I'll send you in line when I know what I'm doing.
Okay, well, I want to remind people to watch tonight. But wait, do we have one last chat question under the radar here?
Yeah, we do. We have one more real quick. A good one, actually. Maya wants to know,
Oh, good. It's a good one.
Yes. As opposed to
I hate it when they suck.
the crap we usually get. This is a great question. Well done, Maya. Do you change your cooking depend on who's tasting it? In other words, do you play to the judges, or do you cook your food the way you would just normally cook it?
You know, it's funny. That is a great question, because it came up as we were getting judged throughout the competition. You know, obviously you do what you do. That's your style. You do have to adapt to your, you know, the setting and your clientele. But you know, you cook the first dish and you get judged, and you know, as you know, grown-up cooks that we are, sometimes you don't agree with those comments. But then again, these guys are paying your bill, so you got to think, hey, how am I going to make this guy still do what I do, but how am I going to get this guy kind of be on my side? So you definitely have to adjust your cooking on again, who you're cooking for, who's going to eat your food, and all that good stuff. So,
Okay,
yeah.
well, tune in tonight, people. Again, 7 o'clock East Coast feed if you're watching the Pacific feed. And, of course, this all depends on what cable or satellite you have. But if you're watching the Pacific feed, it's 10 o'clock. If you're on the East Coast, it's 10 o'clock your time anyway. Tune in to Extreme Chef.
Should be
Jean
good.
Paul, we hope to see you soon. In the
I'll see
meantime,
you.
I've got a message, and we will be back with Franck Savoy right after this.
Hi, I'm Chris Phillips from Talk Tales, and you're watching the Vegas Video Network. And if you stop by the studio, our producer Scott's going to buy everybody a drink.
Hello, we are back with Top of the Food Chain at VegasVideoNetwork.com. You can tell I talk for a living. You already got me nervous here, Franck.
Well,
I'm here with Franck Savoy, an old friend. How are you, Franck?
thank you, I'm great. Well, hold on. The French way. Here we are.
That's right. He makes me do that every time I see him.
Sorry.
You notice I wore a Ramones t-shirt because when Franck had his, was it your first baby? Franck had his first baby. I brought him some baby presents, and I brought him a little baby onesie with the Ramones on it. And he says, like, what? I do not know what this is. What's to be the Ramones? And I was like, the Ramones, they're only the biggest punk rock band in, like, you know, the history of the world. And he's like, I'm French. As if the Ramones never toured France. What is wrong with you, boy?
I was on board.
Because you were busy probably in a fine French kitchen when the rest of us were doing, learning about the Ramones and punk rock.
No, I know, but if you're talking to me about something that happened in 1945, I don't know.
Okay. You may be young, but you're not too young for the Ramones, okay? No. I may be an old man, but...
Well, it might be an American thing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the fun.
French Ramones fans out there, get on the chat line and tell him how wrong he is. Franck, I wanted you here because, first of all, Franck Savoy is the son of the great Guy Savoy. He is also director of food and beverage and pools and restaurants and everything cool over at Caesar's Palace. Everything that I want for free at Caesar's Palace, you're the director. So, and you kind of are the go-to guy when it comes to fine French dining. I mean, you grew up in a Michelin 3-star restaurant. Your father is one of the finest chefs in the world. So you've been around this food. Do you realize how scary French food is to some Americans?
I do realize it because it's a little bit the unknown. We have this image of French food being stuffy, expensive for rich people, buttery, greasy, fatty, and a big length of time at your dinner or lunch.
And that's true at Guy Savoy.
No, even not. No, it's not true at Guy Savoy. It's not true at Robuchon. It's not true at Twist or whoever we have in town that I forget. We always, for example, at Guy Savoy, we always ask our customers if they have time or not when they sit down.
Right.
If they tell us, no, we have 35 minutes, we make them eat in 35 minutes. It all depends how fast the customers eat.
Right.
Because we are ready in the kitchen no matter what. Everything is prepared à la minute, but we're ready to
You're ready to
rock and roll.
force feed them like a foie gras duck if you have to, right?
No, but it's
people don't understand, and I want to hit on a couple of the basic topics that I kind of could pretend to be an expert on, but this man is the real expert. So if you're out there and you're afraid of French dining, you don't think you know anything about French dining, we're going to start with the basics and roll through as many as we can, okay?
Let's rock.
When people think French food,
yes.
First up, they always think fine French dining. They think the rich sauces. They think the foie gras, the escargots, the things like that. There are a lot of different levels of French dining, though, okay? And you've got bistros, you've got brasseries, and then you've got the fine dining, right?
Or it's just like the Hollywood movies. I grew up in France, and Hollywood was only action movies. Mm-hmm. American movies, for me, was equal action movies. But when you see the American movies, you actually have romance, you have novels, you have history movies, you have everything. So it's the same with the French food, which any food, I would say. You have Italian fine dining, and you have French fine dining, but you also have Italian bistro, Italian brasserie. It's all right. The same. It's not because it's French
right.
that you have multiple things. French is very simple food, and it's
So if somebody wants, what people will see if they're not familiar, if you try a bistro, I mean, a bistro cuisine is, in fact, within your own restaurant family there, you have Mon Ami Gabi, which is an excellent restaurant. And if you guys go into Mon Ami Gabi, which, first of all, some of the best people watching here in Las Vegas, it's right on the Strip in the Paris Casino. You get to see the Bellagio fountains across the Strip, people wandering by. The food in there that you're going to get is a lot of fries, or frites, as you call them.
Steak frites.
Steak frites. A lot of steaks with fries or mussels with fries, things like that. They've got 10 different types of hanger steak in there. So bistro is really very accessible to Americans, right?
It's very accessible to Americans. It's very accessible to French people. Mm-hmm. Don't think that in France we're eating fine dining every day. That is absolutely a stereotype, which is not true. We don't drink wine every day. We don't spend 3 hours of lunch every day. We don't do that. I know, because I've heard a lot. I say, Franck, how do you stay skinny with all you eat? What are you talking about? Right. Yeah, you spending 3 or 4 hours lunch, 3 or 4 hours. No.
How do you work? How do you do
when
that
do you
job
work?
at Caesar's?
No. We take our time. We take our time and we eat like you do.
Right.
And it's some days I eat a burger. Some days I will eat a hot dog. And guess what? My dad also.
Right. Okay, well, let's talk about the fine dining restaurants, though, because these are the ones that scare people. The restaurants like Guy Savoy, I mean, they're afraid to walk in there. And I always try to say to people, if this guy here can walk into Guy Savoy and eat and get a kiss on the cheek from Franck Savoy, you guys can do it. You are not worse off than me in any fine dining situation, I promise you. The basics, they start with people are afraid that they can't get a reservation. People think you go to a fine dining restaurant and you can't get a reservation, a fine French restaurant. In Las Vegas, that's certainly not true, right? If you're going to be coming on a trip, you should be able to make a phone call and get a reservation at any of it. At your father's place, at the Robichons, at the Twist. They're pretty easy to get into, right?
It is very easy. We're very into giving the option, because it happens that we don't have seats, but we always give the options. We really often have the question, do you accept single diners? Yes, we do accept single diners. We're not anti-single diners. Mm-hmm. We're not anti the person who want only a green salad, but we will make sure it's going to be the best green salad they ever had in their life.
Right.
You know, we will not look at you badly if you take only one entree or one appetizer. We're not like this.
Right.
We're not like the little green alien. We're just French. We're just French people.
They're just French, and they talk a little strange. Scott, what do we have for Franck over there, man?
Yeah, Maya wants to know what's the primary thing that establishes French food being authentic? Is it the ingredients? Is it where the food comes from? What makes it the most authentic?
So if something's going to be French, how do you define French food?
I would say simple vegetables, very light on sauce. I'm talking about the new French cuisine.
Right.
Because earlier you were talking about buttery and so on. Right. That is true. You're absolutely right. 20 years ago, and I'm sure Chef can say it, 20 years ago, yes, it was very buttery with like les frères Trois Gros, Bocuse, and so on. It's very rich.
Right.
But today, no, it's very simple. We just have, the best thing I love to eat in France is in south of France, just a grilled fish, just grill, olive oil, tomatoes, done.
And I think French food is also very ingredient driven. I mean, in fact, some of the things that your father did when he came to America is to change some of his classic recipes so that they would really reflect ingredients that he can get here that he can't necessarily get in France, correct? So the French really respect the land and what it produces.
We have to, because you have been kind enough to welcome us. You have been kind enough to, and you're still kind enough to come to our restaurants. So it's only normal to buy as many as possible of American products.
Right.
And guess what? Finish the stereotype of the bad American products. This is not true. In California, you have the most beautiful vegetables and fruits. You have the most beautiful beef in the US. You have such a diversity of food, terroir. Now we can talk about terroir in the USA. That it's equal to France, even better.
Okay, when you go into a French restaurant,
yes.
There are a couple words, well, because they're in French, that are going to
Bonjour.
scare the hell out of a lot of people. Yeah, bonjour.
Bonjour.
That one you should be okay with. When you look at the
Bonjour
menu,
is going to be expensive. No, I'm kidding.
Well, let's talk about the expensive ones, and let's talk about how people order and what the menus are. We got some terms that I asked these guys to put up here. These are words you don't only see in French restaurants, but you see them, they are French. Could we throw the first one up there? Okay, this was actually what I was going with the second. But tell people what this one means. Sorry, I put them out of order, my friends. Degustation, a degustation menu. Explain what that is to people.
It's basically, when you go to a restaurant and meet and you're the first. I'm sorry, you want to try everything.
Absolutely, that's what I get paid for.
That's what I'm getting paid for me to serve you that.
Right. So a degustation menu is you're telling the chef, just give me everything that you have.
But on small portions.
Right.
So the same thing, and numerous times my guests, and I want to break the ice on that, and I'm glad we have this discussion. People, when they see this prestige for Guy Savoy menu.
At Guy Savoy, their degustation menu is known as the prestige menu.
Exactly. There is something like 11 or 12 courses. And they say, especially ladies, I'm sorry, they say, I cannot eat all that. So we tell them, no, it's just it's normal for you to finish it. It's made of small portion. So it's a good way to try all the signature dishes of the chef.
Right. But a degustation menu, people should be warned, if you do a degustation menu at any great French restaurant, it can run between 7 and 14 courses. 9 is what yours is at Guy. You start throwing in some things we'll talk about, like amuse-bouches, you're really talking about 12, 13 things that you're eating. People, make time. Yes, Franck is right. They will accommodate you if you have tickets to a show, but you don't really want to try to do a degustation menu in an hour and a half. You can do it. It can be done, but it should really be your night. It is going to cost you, in most places, what it would cost you to go see a show and have dinner and maybe play at the blackjack table a little bit. And because of that fact, you should consider it your evening's entertainment. When you do a degustation menu, you really should be there to say, this chef and this restaurant is what I love. I want to experience food today, and that's why I'm here. Do you disagree with that?
I have to agree with you. That's why usually we have the a la carte menu. Or we have smaller menus as well. We have little degustation menu of 4 or 5 courses.
Right.
And also, as a guest, I welcome you, all of you, to just tell your captain, tell your server, I want 4 or 5 courses, whatever the chef wants to send. That's it.
Well,
off the menu.
That is the greatest way to dine in any great restaurant. It is so wonderful to do. My wife, who happens to be here today, thanks, Sue. Hey, good to see you. That's why Franck showed up, because he loves my wife, Sue, so much. But, she laughs because we're so spoiled. We walk into restaurants anymore, and we're not used to seeing menus. I mean, you guys are always just, Franck or any of the people that know us will just say, hey, just the chef will put something together for you. But that's not really something that is just for myself and other food writers. If you walk into a restaurant, you could say, we'd like about this many courses, and give them a price point. You say, I'd like to have a sampling of the chef's favorites. What can you do for $75 a person? What can you do for $150 a person? I mean, take a look at the menu and understand how to price your request accordingly. But chefs love to do that, don't they?
Chef loves to do it. It's just like the painter who used to paint always the same thing, and one day this client's going to ask him, you know what, just paint whatever you want.
Right.
It's the same. And Chef Jean Paul can say it, I'm sure. What's a pleasure to just cook for the guest. They're here for the chef.
Right. We've got another question over there, actually. What do we got, Scott?
We actually have several questions. Jackie's going to be going to Guy Savoy in September. Can you make a recommendation for her?
Well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that. No, I'm kidding. September, Jackie.
Put me out when you do that.
Well, any recommendation? The famous artichoke soup and black truffle.
The artichoke soup and black truffles is absolutely amazing. The colors of caviar, which we have a picture of the colors of caviar up there. I don't know if you guys want to run through those pictures of Guy Savoy. We'll try to get back to that. But this is just a caviar dish in layers in a tiny little shot glass. There you go. And that's just an absolutely gorgeous dish. I love it. The artichoke truffle soup is phenomenal. If you're an experimental eater, Franck was the first person, I don't know if it's always on the menu, but Franck was the first person ever to serve me sweetbreads, and I was afraid of them at first, and you convinced me that they are one of the greatest foods on the planet.
And they're still there.
They are still there, so you can ask for those. God, so many recommendations, so many great foods there. Are you still going to have the cold lobster with the
and cold steam
and cold steam lobster and cold
absolutely.
steam? I've yet to try this, and I have to get in and try it.
You have to.
Apparently, I was talking to some people about it, and they actually have this cold sea-scented foam that the lobster is served with, so it smells like the ocean in the early morning. And that is what next time I get to Guy Savoy, that's what I'm trying. So there's some recommendations.
But Scott, if I may, just give my my email to this future customer.
Okay.
And I'll make sure to email him.
Okay, I will.
Or her, I don't know.
It's a her.
Jackie is her? Okay.
In the meantime, we were talking about terms for a second, and the one that I was going to pull up first, and this is one that I'm even afraid to pronounce because it's a simple term. You see it in restaurants all the time, but even the French people I know pronounce it differently. Can we toss that up on the board there? Pronounce that for me.
Yeah.
Is that prefix?
How do you pronounce that?
Come on. What should people say?
Prefix.
Prefix.
Okay. A prefix menu is usually prefix is a set price.
Right.
Prefix menu. Imagine you have a price with appetizers, entree, dessert. It's going to be $50. Pick one appetizer, one entree, one dessert. Prefix menu.
Right.
That's what it
exactly.
is.
So you can choose between the appetizers and the entrees and the desserts among a certain group that are on there, and you're going to pay the same. There may occasionally be a supplemental fee if you want caviar, for example. You're going to pay a little more for truffles, but generally, again, prefix, because I have heard people say pre-fee. And that probably makes you French people laugh and laugh and laugh at us silly Americans.
It's confusing us because it might be something new that we didn't know. So, I've just learned something. The prefix was pre-free for you. I just learned it.
I usually say prefix. I usually do, but I've heard it said the other way, and I get scared. Hubert Keller, a friend of both of ours, still says fleur-de-lis, and I was always told it was fleur-de-lis.
Fleur-de-lis.
It's lis. So I need a Frenchman to learn that. I've been saying it wrong all the time. So another question, Scott.
Yeah, Maya wants to know, will you adjust the menu for vegetarians or vegans?
We would be more than happy to do that. We would be extremely happy because there's so many people unfortunately with allergies, with things that they cannot have, and more. The more we live in this world, the more we see allergies. So we're adapting with a lot of pleasure. Vegetarians, vegan, we can even do a degustation. Yeah. Menu degustation, vegetarian. It's easy for us.
I try to tell my vegetarian friends all the time is any good restaurant. It does not have to be a restaurant of Guy Savoy's caliber. It can be any quality restaurant with a chef who really cares about what he's doing. Would be thrilled to do a vegetarian tasting, a vegan tasting menu, anything they would like. And if you want to have one of the best meals of your life, give them 24 to 48 hours notice. Call in advance and let them know. If you show up like one friend of mine once did at a steakhouse and ask for a vegan tasting menu without calling ahead, you're going to get things that the chef doesn't really want to make. Steamed vegetables and rice, and it's going to be sad. But if you call ahead, you will get the best meal in the restaurant that night, because where the chefs tend to be making the same dishes over and over, and they're extraordinarily good at those dishes, they are excited to know a day or two in advance that they're going to be making something cool with what's in season that's not on the menu. And I've always known, Jean Paul, you agree, chefs get excited about that kind of request?
Our job is to impress our guests, and especially if you give us a little head notice, we can do anything, and we'll be more than happy to do it again. If you have your body and soul into the business, you should welcome that at any point in time. Again, the more notice, the more ingredients you might have to be able to impress. But yeah, you should be able to, make everything. We're trained almost like as a black box kind of challenge, and you go to the walk-in real quick and put 3 or 4 courses together. It's a challenge, but that's what we're here for. Most of us, get our rocks off doing that kind of thing.
Cool, thank you. So, Franck, let's talk about some of the weird things that people are going to see when they go to a crazy... when you go to one of these incredible restaurants, there are going to be things ranging from an amuse-bouche, which some people may not be familiar with, all the way up to the bread cart and the cheese cart that you have at Guy Savoy. So I sort of want to walk through these things. Amuse-bouche, for people who do not know, it translates in French to?
The laughing mouth.
The laughing mouth. Okay.
I have no idea why we call that the amuse-bouche. Okay. But basically, the amuse-bouche is a little something sent by the chef, usually, that we change daily, or which, the chef how they are. They're just stubborn and they make whatever they want. and we serve that just to welcome the guests. It's something that they have not ordered, and just to prepare your palate.
Right. So you're not paying for it. It is a little nice free sample of the food, and in general, at most restaurants, every restaurant I know, it doesn't matter whether you go in and you have the pre-fee. Now you got me saying it. Oh man! See, now you got me confused. Doesn't matter whether you get the prefix menu or the pre-theater menu where you can get out inexpensively, or whether you do the degustation menu. You're still going to get this same great amuse-bouche because it's a compliment to the chef, and it's a wonderful thing. So don't turn your nose up at it. Appreciate it. It's something very cool. How about bread carts? Most people have been to a restaurant where maybe they'll bring around a tray of 5 or 6 breads. When I go into Guy Savoy, how many breads? You got a trolley and you got to push it around. How many breads do you have there?
14.
14 different types of bread.
Something like this, yes.
How many is polite to ask for?
As you may ask for 25.
Yes, but without you guys going in the back room and saying...
No, it's just, and I'm glad, and I'm very glad that you bring that. At Guy Savoy or any fine dining restaurant, we really treat our guests as if they're in their house. You don't even have to ask. If you want to eat with your fingers, please do. If there's no rules, so
don't worry about it.
You're just here to have fun. We're just here to make you comfortable, at a certain limit, of course.
Right.
But it's just just cool. It's cool.
The basic rule, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. If you see 3 breads that look delicious, nobody's going to be upset if you leave 2 of them half-eaten on your plate. They're not going to be...
And if you want to do that to your wife or husband to try, do it.
Well, I mean...
Or if you want to sauce with your bread, do it.
And you see me and my restaurant critic friends, we eat off each other's plates all the time. I mean, it's sometimes
you have to do
we do it with our fingers. I mean, when you've got foodies, we dig in, you know, so... And I've never been made to feel uncomfortable in a restaurant like yours for something like that. Scott, more questions?
Yeah, do you guys offer a kosher menu?
Well, kosher menu, we could, but again, with notice, because we have to have blessed food from the rabbin, I believe. Right. So we're not prepared because we obviously don't have a rabbin full time in the restaurant. Right. But we should be aware of a rabbi. Sorry.
So don't talk about my pre-fee if you've got a rabbin in the restaurant, okay?
And not a rabbit.
A rabbit.
A rabbi. I'm sorry. We say rabbin in French. So okay. I tried it.
Yeah. Well, don't start with me about prefix pre-fee anymore.
So we could, but with a little bit of notice. Yes.
Okay. So about how long would you say someone should call in advance?
48 hours.
48 hours. So again, if you're going to a restaurant like this, obviously you're generally planning it well in advance, and
because this touch the religion, and I don't want to mess around with that either.
Right.
So we really take that very seriously.
Right. Now, when we order a la carte, because you got usually your prefix menu or your degustation menu. And these normally follow a sort of a basic pattern. You'll have your appetizers, sometimes like a seafoodish appetizer, and then maybe a salad, and then maybe a foie gras appetizer, and then you go into a piece of fish, and then you usually go into a meat, you know, a red meat, or maybe even a duck or a red meat, and then your cheese, and then your desserts. Is that your basic flow of a meal?
Amuse-bouche before dessert.
Amuse-bouche. Oh, a dessert amuse. Yes, that's another beautiful thing. It's a little bonus dessert before your dessert. But that's the general flow of a meal.
It is.
When one orders a la carte, and of course that can be made to fit, I've had a 29-course meal that still follows that same basic trend, though. When one orders a la carte, how many dishes would be normal? Now, I know you'll accommodate anybody. If they just want a salad, that's fine. But, you know, what should somebody think if, let's say they're not trying to impress you or the restaurant, but they want their business person that they're taking there to think that they, you know what's the general trend. What would you recommend ordering a la carte?
Appetizer, main course, dessert. Great.
Okay.
And we take care of the rest. Amuse-bouche and things like this.
Right. Okay, so we have touched on quite a few of the questions, hopefully, that people have about fine French dining. Oh, other things, I want to tell you, your bread plate is the one on the left, and your drinks are on the right of you, right? That's the way?
No idea.
Yeah, okay. And as a good friend told me, you can remember that because it goes B and D. Either that's alphabetical, bread and drinks, or bondage and discipline is, how I choose to remember B and D. But,
wow.
But yeah, you're not going to forget that one. Anyway.
And who cares? And if you take the bread of your neighbor, who cares?
Well, it depends how snotty your neighbor is.
Yeah, well, that's not my problem at the end.
Also, still a couple more. I know we got to wrap this thing. As far as don't be afraid of the forks. They don't tell me what you said about worrying about what fork to use.
Just use the fork you want.
No, but it's not Pretty Woman anymore.
Yes, it's not Pretty Woman with
25 forks. You guys change it every meal. If I have 9 courses, I eat with my fork and my knife, and Franck's people come along and they take it away, and then they bring me a brand new fork and knife for the next one. So you don't have to worry about what fork and knife to use. You don't have to be afraid of anything. If I can eat there, and this Frenchman is kind to me, he will be kind to all of you. I promise you that. In the meantime, we will be back next week. I believe we've got Vic Vegas with us next week. I know that we're going to be talking sustainable seafood with a chef, so worrying about how to keep the oceans clean. Tune in. I know you have a lot of spare time at Caesar's Palace, so make sure you tune in there. If you guys have any questions on those topics, drop us a line. It's food@vegasvideonetwork.com. In the meantime, remember, you can always check out my website. It is almancini.net. And as always, I beg of you, buy my book, Eating Las Vegas, the 50 Essential Restaurants. If you're going to dine in Las Vegas, your Guy Savoy named one of the top 10 restaurants in that book. So you've got to like that book, right?
Where you have good taste.
We do have good taste. Thank you so much, Franck. I'm Al Mancini. This has been Top of the Food Chain. We are out of here.